A post game, it looks like the Kings' winning streak is finally going to be a thing of the past. But we're going to talk about it. I'll have Jerry Reynolds joining me in just a couple of moments. 113 to 102. And again, Jerry Reynolds will be on with me here in just a little bit. And when I mean a little bit, I mean like in a minute. All right. We got it straightened out and was very happy that we were able to resolve that. So Jerry Reynolds is coming on with me in just a moment. All right, 113 to 106 with 33 seconds left in that contest. And again, Jerry Reynolds will be on with me in just a little bit. We get to a couple of early chat messages. Step slow tonight, and 19 turnovers not going to get it done. You know, I'll say this, and I think we would all agree with this. If the Kings do not make an incredible comeback here, all right, they lost this game in the first half. That's where they lost this game, all right? They lost this game in the first half. You know, you can't give up 72 points in an NBA game and win a lot. You can do it sometimes, all right? You can do it sometimes. And very sloppy with the basketball. You know, I would agree with that. We'll get to the final box in a minute. I'm going to wait until the game ends. But 113 to 106. And again, down 7 with 33 seconds left. Not going to get it done. All right, but you know, you're still going to be 10-7. You got Boston, who is currently playing at home right now against the Dallas Mavericks. And Boston's coming off a loss, and they are leading that game, and very comfortably so. All right? Hey, guess what? Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. All right? Hope tomorrow was awesome for you as well. Someone talking about the Atlanta TV of Bob Rathbun and Dominique Wilkins. They are good. They're very good. Very good. I know I can speak for Jerry. Jerry and I used to love going into Atlanta and talking to those two on the floor before the game, both Bob Rathbun. Bob's been on my podcast before, and they do a great job. They're really good. They really do a nice job. So, again, Sacramento, after tonight, if they can't pull off this miracle, they will be in Boston for the finale of this road trip coming up on Friday. And it's not going to be a win tonight for the Sacramento Kings. But it's all right. You know, again, you weren't going to win them all. You weren't going to win them all. Bob and Dominic, class act. They are a class act. They very much are a class act. All right, as I said, Jerry Reynolds is nice enough to join us here on the stream tonight. Jerry, first of all, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. I hope you have a great day tomorrow. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, very disappointed. I messed up your afternoon or your regular afternoon show, but maybe this will make up for it a little bit. And you know, feeling good. Looking forward to the holidays. Watch a lot of basketball and football.
Yep.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, so it is going to be a loss tonight as Atlanta is very close to just closing this one out. Jerry, let's just back up a little bit. Let's talk about last night. The Kings, I think, in the last many years would have lost that game last night. You know, they would have lost. You and I have done many games where they had it in control and they would lose a game the way they did last night. I look at that as growth. No, it wasn't beautiful in the final 2 minutes, but they made free throws and they found out a way to win the game. And as you know, any win on the road's a good win.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I felt the same way. I mean, there was a chance to lose that ball game, and certainly they made some poor decisions down the stretch, but made up for it. And as you said, I mean, the point was they had a nice lead going into it against a very good Memphis team on the road, and got their seventh win. So I don't think there's anything but positives there, you know, and looked like down the stretch, Ja Morant was just outstanding and probably got a few little favorable calls to go with it. But that's how it goes when the momentum changes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, 115 to 106 with now under 24 seconds left in this game. And again, we'll go over the box score and everything else here in just a moment, and really hope that everyone has a fabulous, fabulous Thanksgiving. Jerry, the first half tonight is really where the Kings lost the game. You can't give up 72 points and a half. You just can't.
No, no, it's really obvious that the Hawks were able to just score too easily. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my goodness, they got anything they wanted, got where they wanted. Trae Young and DeJounte Murray just really making any kind of play they wanted to play, and then dominating the boards in stretches. And King had good shots, just didn't make them. Now, I mean, having said all that, I thought the Kings did exactly what I thought they might look like. I thought they looked like a very tired team, and the Atlanta Hawks look like a very fresh and rested team ready to go. And as you know, that's the NBA. Sometimes
Yeah.
the schedule catches you, and sometimes you catch the schedule. And I think that first half, I was really impressed, honestly, how they fought back in the second. And,
Yep.
a couple of sloppy plays probably kept them from having a chance to win.
Mm. Jerry, this individual Patriot says, "What's up, Coach? Thank you for being such an awesome coach throughout the years." Awesome, Jerry. You were an awesome coach. Too bad you
Now,
didn't have
well, the
awesome
win, the
players.
one-loss record wouldn't prove that, but certainly at the professional level, at other levels, it would have. But I have to say, looking back, I did about as good as you're going to do. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that this is a talent league, and 24-second clock. Basically, the
Hey,
better teams, the better talent are going
yeah.
to win most of the time.
All right, it's all over 115 to 106. So let's digest the final numbers. And again, when I look at these numbers, I look at 3-point shooting tonight. Fox was 1 of 5 from downtown. He also missed 4 free throws. Barnes 0 of 2, Keegan 0 of 3, Sabonis 0 of 1 from 3. So only 9 of 30 from downtown. You missed 6 free throws. You're 15 of 21. 18 turnovers in this game. That's a little too many. But they just didn't shoot the ball well tonight. So that's going to happen. But I got to tell you, Jerry, I was pretty happy with what I saw defensively from the Kings in the third and fourth quarters. I thought defensively they were fine in the second half. They just couldn't coincide with their offense.
I thought absolutely. I thought they really outplayed the Hawks in the second half, and as you pointed out, I think the two key figures there for the Kings. I mean, they've got to make threes. Now, this is a team that to win consistently, they have to make threes, and I
Mm-hmm.
think most nights they will. They didn't tonight, and the turnovers. Now, that's the part that probably shows the tired legs and minds more than anything. But this team has been very good with the ball for the most part of this year, this season, and they were really just sloppy tonight. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there was 8 or 9 turnovers there that of the "what in the world are you doing"
Yep.
variety.
All right, there's been a lot of talk on my shows recently, including last night after the Memphis game, about Keegan Murray. He's obviously been struggling. We had a lot of fans saying Mike Brown should really look at a lineup change. I said, no, 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 no. When you're winning 7 in a row and the team is in sync, you don't make a lineup change. But he is struggling. What do you see with his game right now, Jerry?
Well, I think he's really obviously he's pressing. I mean, he's really releasing the ball even quicker than Seems like he's getting the ball away before he even gets his feet set. That's the things we saw with him in the summer league and preseason. All that he was always under control and planted and had the good balance before he shot the ball. And it's one of those things that happens with guys when they're in shooting slumps. They're in a just in a kind of rushing the action, and that's what he's doing. And I agree with you, though. I mean, if I'm Mike Brown, I keep him. This kid's going to be a really good player.
Yes, he is.
So I mean, I remember Tyrese Halliburton his rookie year for a stretch in his early part of his rookie year really struggled shooting and handling and things, and just played his way out of it as real talented players will do. And so if I'm Coach Brown, I stay with this a while. Now I wouldn't say you couldn't take him out of the lineup, but it's not really important to do that because you can
Mm-hmm.
always, as Coach Brown has done. I mean, goes right to his bench with Trey Lyles or goes smaller. when he feels it. And we've said a million times, and we'll say it again here. I will that hey, the main thing is to play your best players in that particular game down the stretch. And I
Mm-hmm.
think Coach Brown, as the game goes along, when it gets down to the last 7, 8 minutes, he knows who he wants out on the floor. And lately, it wouldn't be Keegan Murray. So that's the bottom line on that.
Well, he only played 21 minutes tonight to illustrate your point. I mean, Mike Brown started him, but, he can see that he's struggling. And so, whereas every other starter played 30 or more minutes, with the exception of Herter, who almost played 30, he played 29. He only played 21 minutes. So, there you go. He's not playing a lot of minutes right now.
Yeah, and I mean, it may come during the season where it may be in benefit Coach Brown and Keegan and the team
Yeah.
for Keegan not to start. That's
Yep.
okay too. It might to get his confidence. It might be easier to play with the bench players. I mean, obviously. So but I have enough confidence in the coach at this stretch. I mean, I think he's really, kind of clicked all the boxes, and I think with Keegan. I'd sure stay with him a while and just say keep shooting it, but get
Yep.
good shots, keep shooting it. If they're not good shots, turn it down and move.
Yep.
That's all.
We're getting a lot of messages about back-to-backs who are tough and everything. Here's the deal. Jerry and I have talked about this for decades. Every team in the league plays back-to-backs. Every team in the league goes through rough stretches. Every team in the league deals with this, okay? Good teams don't talk about back-to-backs, okay? Good teams don't really worry about back-to-backs as much. Are they more difficult? Well, obviously they are. There's travel a lot of times involved. There are, whatever. You might be dealing with a bump, an injury, whatever. But you really can't talk about, well, they lost because it's the second of a back-to-back. Good teams figure out a way to win on second night of back-to-backs. And I'm not by any sense of the imagination I'm not saying the Kings aren't a good team. I think they are a good team, but you can't really use the second of a back-to-back as an excuse because every team goes through it. And, Jerry knows when we were doing the games in the early 2000s, the Kings were a really good team. They didn't care if they had 4 games in 5 nights. They were generally winning all of those games in 5 nights,
Yeah, the best teams generally do. I will say one thing: if I was a bet man, and I'm not, as you know, I on back-to-backs, the way I'd always look at it, and I still do, is if the team on the back-to-back is playing a team that certainly has had a day rest or so, and it's coming off a big win.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming off a big win going into the second game. I'd almost always bet against that team. I noticed, like the 76ers tonight got beat by
Yep.
Charlotte
Yep.
after a huge win. I think those things are almost predictable,
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, I mean it's fair for everybody. I recall a week or so ago, the Atlanta Hawks had a big win at home, and then I think went somewhere on a back-to-back and just got embarrassed the next night. But I think
Well,
the emotion of the first night out and the big win is a real key, and not to excuse it because the Kings they will catch teams the same way.
yes.
And so it's for, the old deal, 41 at home, 41 on the road, and there are going to be some back-to-backs, and you'll catch teams injured, you'll catch teams tired, and they'll catch you injured, and they'll catch you tired. So just shut up about it.
Yep.
And as you said, I mean, the main thing is if you're a really good team and think you're a good team, you don't mention back-to-backs. You just
That's
go
right.
play.
And it works the other way, too. If you're a really good team and you're coming off a loss, that's not a good time to play them in the next game. Like Boston's a perfect example tonight. They lost their last game to end their long winning streak, and they blew out Dallas tonight. The game was never close. The final score was 125 to 112. So it works both ways. Again,
Yeah.
that's the NBA. There are schedule games throughout the year, and you're going to play them, and all teams go through it, and it is what it is. Even with that said, I thought the Kings at one point in the second half looked like that they were going to make a comeback and were going to be in the game, and they just couldn't make shots. That's all there is to it.
Just couldn't make the shots that you expect them to make, and the turnovers. I mean, they just made turnovers that they don't make, but they did tonight. And
Yeah.
no, I think I watched a good bit of the Boston Celtics game or Celtics and Dallas game, and like you said, I mean the Celtics just chewed them up,
Yep.
just chewed them up, and of course I think they're the best team in the league myself, the Celtics. So the Kings will have to bring their A game in this
Yes.
their absolute A game, and they can bring their A game and lose because the Celtics I think are the best team in the league myself, but.
Arriving at a city at 2 a.m. is not an issue. I hate to disappoint you. If the Kings lost, it's okay. They lost the game. 3 games in 4 nights is a much bigger issue than arriving in a city at 2 a.m. That's not a big deal at all. The 2 a.m. is not. The game didn't start tonight until 7:30 in Atlanta. The 3 games in 4 nights is a bigger issue than getting it at 2
Oh,
a.m.
yeah. I always say this like, yeah, you get in late, but that's not a whole lot later than you normally would
Right.
be up anyway. And then you can, for the most part, you can sleep in if you even have a walkthrough, which most teams don't anymore very often on a back-to-back. And then you got a chance for a nap in the afternoon, for God's sake.
Yes.
So no,
Right.
that doesn't do it. I mean, obviously I did feel like that De'Aaron just didn't look like himself in that first half.
No, he did
And
not.
that's such a key for this team because they need De'Aaron has to be close to his best, and he just wasn't tonight. It happens. He's had a marvelous season.
Sure has.
Sabonis, I thought Sabonis was Sabonis.
Yep.
I mean, he just does what he does, which is pretty rare among big players.
So the Kings now fall to 6th in the West, which, again, 10-7. This West is unbelievable because you have Phoenix, who the Kings play on the first game back from this trip with only 6 losses. Utah, the Clippers, the Pelicans, the Nuggets, and the Kings with 7 losses. Then Memphis, Minnesota won tonight. All right. And Minnesota's starting to get their act together. They've now won 5 in a row, and they are 10-8. This West is unbelievable. It really is. The West, once again, is unbelievable. I don't know if I don't know if the top of the West is better than the top of the East. We'll find out. But the conference as a whole, oh my gosh, is it bunched up?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think in the West, to me, San Antonio and Houston, they're done. I mean, I'm calling them out right now. I think they're done as far as competing for a play-in or playoffs, and probably the Lakers. But everybody else could be. There's not another one of those teams that couldn't say we got a shot at the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones in the top 4 probably could all say we got a shot at number 1. There is no clear cut. Phoenix isn't quite what they were last year, and I don't think. Now
I agree
that
with you.
may change, and I mean Booker has really carried him at this stage, and Mikal Bridges, but whether they can get better as they go, and they're certainly capable. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's like before this game, the Kings were a half a game out of first,
Yeah.
and 3 games out of 12th.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Pretty amazing.
I can't recall it ever seeing it at about the 20 game mark.
Cody,
it's more
obviously,
like the NFL. The parity is kind of there.
Oh boy. This message by Cody. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf actually was on the Kings. He actually played for Sacramento. Did you acquire Mahmoud, Jerry? Was that your decision?
No. Jeff Petrie was the general manager there and brought in Mahmoud, and really a delightful, nice young man.
I like Mahmoud a lot.
He
Yes.
didn't have as good a year, or his career was pretty much winding down. But I just always recall spending a little bit of time with him, and he was just so polite and such a nice young man.
Great.
I realized
Yep.
some of the so-called issues, but boy, in his prime, I mean, you talk about a guy could fill it up. He was kind of a Steph Curry before Steph Curry. Certainly
He
not
was.
that good, but
I mean, he as soon as he was over the half court line, he was in range to shoot.
yeah, and so quick. I mean, really, he probably is a closer of Trae Young.
Mhm.
I mean, his game more like Trae Young. He wasn't a very physical player, but very crafty and good, like you say, his range was where he could see it. And I always said it's always amazing that he and Shaq together couldn't get to the Final Four in college. That's always amazed me a little bit.
Jerry Reynolds, nice enough to join me here on the stream tonight as the Kings do have their win streak snapped. They are now 10-7. But overall, Jerry, this win streak has been so much fun to watch. The way the team has played at the end of close games, I think, to me, has resonated more than anything. This team is learning how to win, and you do have to learn that. And I really think during this 7-game win streak where games came down to the last couple of minutes, they are learning how to execute and play down the stretch. The last week, the home game against the Warriors, I thought was a perfect example of that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think they have a lot of confidence in their teammates themselves. They play like that. Uh, this is a team that really feels they can outscore their opponents, and they've proven they can most times. Still, the defense is clearly a work in progress, and as you pointed out in the first half, was just terrible tonight. But they are a brilliant offensive team, and probably as a team that's as much fun to watch, at least from my opinion, as
Hmm.
any we've had since the early 2000s. I mean, the ball moves. Sabonis is a great initiator, and really you just see a lot of chemistry and unselfishness. And then the bench, it is the best bench that the Kings have had since going back to, what I always labeled the bench of tears, starting with John, the John Barry, Scott Pollard, Vernon Maxwell, bunch of guys, and of course
Yep.
had different but good benches for years there in the early 2000s. But when you can bring in a Malik Monk and Metu and Trey Lyles and of course Davion, you know he doesn't have to score a point to be an impact in the game.
Yep.
The guy's a little terror out there. So there's a lot of reasons to be positive, and there's nothing that happened tonight should change that.
Jerry, I had your back yesterday. Somebody said that they remember you on TV saying if the Kings had won 7 in a row, you would shave your head. I said, well, first of all, that would have only applied for that year. And then I said, I can absolutely 100% guarantee you Jerry's not going to be shaving his head. So I wanted to let you know Connor brought that to my attention. And I had your back, Jerry. I defended you
Well,
100%.
I know you did. I appreciate that. And I heard that. And yes, and I gave my excuse for that. It's like, yeah, 12, 15, 18 years ago, whenever that was, I had a lot more hair and you could have maybe made a mohawk. But today, if
Uh-huh.
you did that, I'm not sure it's even coming back. So I'm not taking a chance with
Oh,
my
my
thin
gosh.
hair. And yeah, that ship sailed. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad that we got that out of the way. Jerry, when you watch Trey Young play, we've compared him and we look at him. I mean, I hate to just have you throw me out a random number. He's the third best, fourth best, fifth best. But in terms of the point guard group, do you put him in upper tier?
Oh yeah, I mean he's kind of proven that because of what the Atlanta Hawks have done. He's been the best player on the Hawks, and they've been to the Eastern Finals and been in playoffs since he's been there. So he's kind of did it, and so it's like I think I wouldn't put him there with Luca. Certainly, maybe Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has moved past him. Maybe even uh, maybe some others. Darius Garland's there, but still, I mean, you could make a case that he's in the top two or three. I mean, you really could, because his numbers and the team success would tend to indicate that. I mean, he's like a lot of small guards. He's a liability on defense, and that's kind of why the Hawks got DeJounte Murray to kind of uh, bolster that part of it. But my gosh, he's a game changer. With his passing, with his unbelievable creativity and cleverness.
All right, that Friday game coming up in Boston should be a dandy. This is going to be, I think, to date, this will be the biggest barometer, the biggest measuring stick that the Kings have faced. I don't think there's any question, and I'm not discounting the Warriors, but the Warriors right now today aren't anywhere near the championship team that we saw last year. They may be as the season goes on, but right now today they're not. This will be the most difficult team that the Kings have played. This is on the road. This is in Boston. It's not like the Celtics don't realize that the Kings have played really, really well. This is going to be one hell of a test for Sacramento coming up on Friday.
Oh yeah, and I think the Kings should really be looking forward to it, and probably what happened tonight will help them get ready, because what they're going to face in Boston is a better defensive team than they saw tonight, much more physical team, and really a better offensive team because with Brown and Tatum, they really present some tough matchups, and yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun for me just to watch because. Uh, it's a great measuring stick in my
Mm-hmm.
mind. If you could beat these guys on the road or scare them to death, I mean, it's telling you that why are you afraid of anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, really, I mean, just as the roster, they adding Malcolm Brogdon to the team and all that. I mean, they've got nice depth as well. Maybe not as deep a bench as the Kings, but a couple of key guys that would start for about anybody else. So, Yeah, you go into Boston and
Yep.
hey, no pressure. The pressure's on Boston, and go play your best and
Yep.
make your threes, take care of the ball, and maybe you'll have a chance.
Charlie, I think you're delusional with this message. You're not interested in extending Keegan for big money at age 27. When he's 27, I think you will be interested. And 27 is still young in the NBA. I mean, 27 is not like you're walking around with a cane. All right. I think you're way off base here, and I think you're way premature on Keegan Murray. I think this guy's going to be a hell of a player in this league.
Oh, I
It's
do
amazing.
too. No,
Yep.
no, don't ever do that. Patience is a virtue, especially with rookies. If that were the case, Steph Curry and Steve Nash and guys like that would have, it took them a while to become not just stars, but Hall of Famers. Gary Payton, it was his third year before, there's rumors he was going to be traded. I mean, I'm old enough to remember all this.
Yep.
Very few rookies that just hit it from the start of the. Jabari Smith in Houston is struggling more the third pick than Keegan is. I noticed Jaden Ivey had a terrible game there last night.
That's right.
It happens. He's a rookie, and patience. My goodness. Just remember what you said there, and in 3 or 4 years, then you can always deny that you ever thought it or wrote it.
Hey, the Warriors were thinking of not giving Curry the contract after his fourth year. So, again, you need to just relax on that. Jerry,
Well, I can tell you for sure a story on that. And I mean, I've
go
had
ahead.
it in the past is when they were trying to trade to get Bogut, basically I know they offered Curry or Monte Ellis. The Bucks decided they wanted Monte Ellis because they were afraid of Curry's ankles. So,
Wow.
so that's how things really are.
How about that?
Early in players' careers.
Wow.
I mean, look at Nikola Jokic and Antetokounmpo in their first couple of years in the league. Who saw all-time MVPs and Hall of Famers as rookies? Nobody. Not a soul would have said that.
Yeah.
But
well, I
by
think
the
it's
second year,
way.
you started seeing signs, and by the third year, you said, "Oh, this guy could be special." And then by the fourth year, they were special.
I've been getting a lot of questions about this, and I think it's a very fair question and really good questions. I've been getting a lot of fans asking me if this year's team reminds me a little bit of the team in 98, 99. That was the lockout year. There was only 50 games. That was the year that Jeff Petrie had acquired Vlade Divac as a free agent from Charlotte, made the big trade, Mitch Richmond to Chris Webber, drafted Jay Will, and everything just kind of started clicking. And within a couple of weeks, you knew that you were watching a group that had a chance to be really good. Now, they made the playoffs that year with 27 wins, lost to Utah in a thrilling 5-game series in overtime. And I believe this team does remind me of that team a little bit. It really does. Think about the enthusiasm and the passion that this team so far has brought back to a fan base that was not showing up at games anymore, that were disgusted by the team. So I see some similarities for sure.
Oh, I do too. Absolutely. I mean, it was one of those things where, everything just kind of clicked. And as you pointed out, it was a winning team, but just barely. And like I say, fans might want to remember too, Peja Stojakovic, who you might remember was a pretty good player. He did not start on that team.
That's correct.
He played behind Corliss Williamson. Corliss was traded the next year, I think it was. And so, at that time, Peja wasn't yet Peja. And it was but they had a good deep bench. And of course, Jay Will was the most exciting player probably to ever put on a uniform with the Kings. And of course, Weber was the best player, and then Vlade the best leader, and just simply a most valuable player on that team. And so you've got a lot of similarities. I think, I think this is going to very likely could be a winning team. That team was below 500 until about the last 15 games.
That's correct.
It was just, again, that's one of the advantages of being old. There's not very many advantages of being old, but remembering some of the actual true circumstances that others just can't, have no reason to remember because they weren't around.
That's beautiful. You brought up Peja a moment ago. Have you had a chance to watch his son, who just recently announced that he is going to be playing his collegiate basketball in Stanford, and obviously one of the top recruits in the country? Have you watched him play in person or watched him at all on video?
I really haven't, and I've had a lot of calls, several calls from, people I know in the college game, with the idea they were trying to recruit him. And of course, I knew that, glad he finally made his decision, but everybody said the same thing, that he's really not just one of the top high school players, but moving up, was getting better and better. And I said, well, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, Peja, people forget that Peja was, the best player in Europe at age 17 or 18. And so pretty good bloodlines there.
Somebody said, I don't dislike Keegan or think he's trash, but I'm not a fan either. Rookie aside, I'm expecting more from a 22-year-old. Again, it's 16, 17 games in. Just wait, all right? I think you're going to love.
Yeah, I want to see more too. I mean,
Yep.
don't get me wrong. I don't think he's played well the last few games, but
No.
I certainly wouldn't base a career on 3 or 4 games. I mean, there's no logic to that.
I don't understand that either. Again, it's early. It is very, very early. We really appreciate all of the messages that we're getting. Somebody wanted to know if Kevin Huerter is a better shooter than Peja Stojakovic. What was the story you told about watching Peja one day in practice? How many threes did he make when you were there?
Yeah, I was in my office at that time. I had a view of the practice center right behind there, and I noticed Peja coming in, and there's a kind of a ball toss machine behind the basket, so to kick it back to him, and he started shooting threes, and I just immediately started watching, and swish, 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 and then I started counting, and and then really I think he was up to near 40 or so when I noticed Hito and Vladi had walked in. And then and Peja knew I was watching. And then I think he got to 48. 48 straight. 48 straight. Got that? 48 straight.
48 straight. Yeah.
And anyway, I think Peja told Vladi and those guys that, that I hit 48 straight or what it was. And he didn't do that. So I had to come around and say, yeah, he did. I saw every one of them. But
Oh my gosh.
that's I always said that was one of the things I enjoyed watching guys shoot before games. When we were doing TV, and I'd always watch, like a Mike Bibby or Peja. Almost always, if they had 20 3-point shots, they'd hit 18. 17, 18. That would be just routine.
Yep.
And then I always remember Ben McLemore as a rookie. His shot looked so good, and then he'd hit 7. He'd hit 7 or 8.
Right.
And I always remember telling, I don't know who it was, I said, Dave Yeager, whoever it was, a coach, or maybe Paul Westphal, that, the fact he's hitting 7 or 8 at most in wide open practice tells me he's not going to hit a high percentage in the game. I mean, it doesn't usually go up.
Great.
So
That's great.
it's one of those shots that looked a lot better than it was, and of course time kind of established that, I guess.
Talking about Trae Young and John Morant talking all kinds of crap on the court when they don't get the foul calls. That's been a very disturbing pattern to me in the NBA. And I think Luka Doncic is probably, as bad as they come right now. Draymond Green. I mean, Luka complains after every whistle. It's turned me off. I know Jerry and I used to comment on it on the telecast. Jerry, you and I used to point that out all the time, that it's just we both, I think it's gotten out of hand.
Oh, I think it serves no purpose. It really infuriates fans who think they're, the home fans always think their guys are complaining for a reason, that they got a foul call, and they didn't. They weren't fouled. They're just begging, and it's out of hand, and it doesn't serve the players well. It doesn't serve the officials. It doesn't serve the league. It doesn't serve fans. And I think the Players Association, if I were in charge of the Players Association, I would really go to the league and say, we want to stop this.
Mm-hmm.
It's making our guys look bad. It's making the league look bad. It's making the officials look bad for no reason. And I know it all started years ago where they wanted the officials to explain to the players the call. And, what does that do? The players aren't going there to get an explanation. They're going in there to complain that they got a bad call. And, as a Kings fan, or if you're a Warrior fan, you always think, well, Steph Curry said that, he must have been fouled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we know from looking at the replays most of the time, sadly, the referees were right a lot more than the players were.
Got a individual watching from Fiji, so we say Vinaka. All right, that means thank you, and you can say hello in Fijian, Jerry. You say Bula. So Bula
Bula?
to the folks watching in Fiji. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I can do that. Bula.
You can do that, but Jerry's not going to get on a 10-hour and 40-minute flight from LA to go see you. Jerry's done with those long flights, but he can think of you and he can look at videos of beautiful Fiji, but he's not going to actually go to Fiji.
I would love to go when they can transpose me like they did on Star Trek. I'll be willing to go. Till then,
Jerry, I really don't want to disappoint you, but I don't know if you're going to see that in your lifetime. Okay.
I'm pretty sure I'm not, so that's why I'm probably going to have to look at pictures and
Yeah.
and of course I'd be the first one that they did it to, and then not all of them would get there probably. So
Lydia asked if they have. Fiji is beautiful. Do they have a stable government? Is there anywhere in the world that has a stable government? I mean, it sure as hell ain't the United States. I mean, who's got a stable government right now?
it would be hard to come up with some. Maybe Switzerland, or Luxembourg, where not enough people cause trouble. So it's a small group. I'll tell you that.
Oh my gosh. By the way, Jerry, you and I are wearing the same type of shirts here. The Grant Napier Future Foundation. So I'm once again,
yeah. This is a newer one. This is 2019.
So same as this. We had two colors that year, and I gave you the purple for the Kings.
Yeah.
And I took the this was a 2019 blue, and I actually have purple ones too. But I grabbed a couple of blue ones. So we're both wearing the same year, Jerry. So we appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, I remember when actually purple was kind of the color. Of course, I remember when blue was the team color. Now, who knows what is the team color? I don't know.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I didn't know we were.
I'm not a fan of 17 different color uniforms for teams or whatever they are. I did like those gray ones. I thought they were very attractive. But at some point, get a uniform. And I'll tell you what, it's my old man coming out of me, but I don't like the idea of wear the white at home and the dark one on the road. Now, maybe once or twice a year, wear the dark, just so your fans can see the road uniforms. But I mean, there's no rhyme or reason.
Well, not only that, you and I knew this. It's not easy when you go on a 5-game road trip or a 6-game trip and you got to take 3 uniforms because you got to take 2 of everything. And you and I both know the equipment folks in the back room work their asses off, and they're the most underpaid people in a franchise. And it is such a burden to them when they have to pack 3 different types of uniforms for a 5 or 6-game trip in addition to everything else. I mean, it really is. And then Jerry, you remember when we used to pull up in front of hotels in a 5 or 6-game trip, and the big truck would pull up with everyone's luggage, and it would take forever to get all the bags off. And I mean, they'd be out there for an hour and a half organizing everything in the cold. It's crazy. I've never understood that. I really haven't.
No, I haven't either. I think it's just gotten out of hand. I mean, I don't know what the rationale is, but they should. I don't think you need that.
No.
Of course, I know. Of course, I say I go so far back where the players had to take care of their own uniforms and carry them. When we flew commercially and all that, and had one trainer and one equipment guy. That's all you traveled with, and so the players basically, pretty much had to take their own uniforms, and usually on the road it'd be one color uniforms, and then would get the opposing equipment guy to wash them periodically. So different world.
Well, Jerry,
better in most ways.
Jerry, you're a godfather. Lydia says you're a godfather. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I've kind of been thinking about starting a crime family, but I just probably a little late for that. So
good luck. Good luck with
that. Probably a little late for that.
And if you end up going to prison, I'm not so sure your wife will visit you. So you'll definitely be on your own.
No, I'm pretty sure I'd be on my own, and and I would blame her. So,
hey, the worst place to travel during the winter to me was Milwaukee. To me, Milwaukee and Detroit, Minnesota wasn't that bad because you could walk around the city without going outside. I didn't mind going to Minneapolis because you could wear shorts and a short sleeve shirt when it was 20 below zero because you didn't have to go outside to go anywhere in the city.
Yeah, I'd say Milwaukee. Certainly Detroit. Would be my least favorite probably. I mean Boston and New York and Chicago were always cold, but they're great walking cities, and you just you know I I know you probably never went outside in Boston, but that's another story.
No,
But
I did, but I had my Boston Sox shirt on, so you would have been able to see me. And
but yeah, those I could like I say, I've had enough trips to Cleveland and Detroit,
yep.
and Milwaukee to last me quite a while. And of course, the last time I think I was in Milwaukee was when I got food poisoning, and you had to
Oh boy.
cover for me while I run to the bathroom every 15 minutes in the third quarter.
Yeah. Thanks for the reminder on that. I really appreciate that as we get ready to celebrate
Well,
Thanksgiving
you
tomorrow.
stepped up big time. You stepped
Yeah,
up big time.
I do that. Well, listen, on that note, we will say happy Thanksgiving to you. And thank you so much for joining me on the post-game show. And, I was hoping that after doing the Wednesday show at 3 p.m. for 4 shows, or that you would have it down technologically speaking. But, I have to realize that I am dealing with Jerry Reynolds. And when it comes to technology and phones and the internet, I'm never going to be able to count on you. So even though I expect to be able to talk to you next Wednesday right here at 3 p.m., I can't say for certain, but I do have my fingers crossed. I want you to know that.
And me too. Boy, do I ever. And I would like to tell you no more problems, but I can't do that because I'd say with my technological acumen, it's about an 80%er.
Unbelievable.
But the world is moving way too fast for me. Let's put it that way. All I say is I was a senior in high school before we had a phone, and it was an 8-party line. So
How about
as far
that?
as I'm concerned, I've made amazing strides.
Wow. Jerry, happy Thanksgiving, buddy. Appreciate you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and all the Kings fans. Hey, it's been a wonderful time to be a Kings fan, and I think a lot of fun coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, great to have Jerry on the post-game show tonight. I'll go on for a little bit longer. We'll take some of your messages, and we'll react to that. We are brought to you New Works Plumbing. All right, they're awesome. All your plumbing needs and repairs, I'm thankful for them. They have been with me from day one when I started doing my podcast in October. Call the number on your screen or go to sackserviceplumbing.com. New Works Plumbing for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. Hope that you are going to have a fabulous holiday tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Really appreciate those joining me and Jerry here on the stream. And it was a lot of fun. I wish the Kings had won tonight because I think that we would have had another 200 people or so on the stream. I'm noticing that, when the Kings are winning and I'm getting probably twice the audience. And when they lose, it drops back down. So I don't think people want to talk about their team after a loss. So I'll tell you this, if they beat Boston on Friday, wow, that would be unbelievable. Keys to the Boston game, you cannot have any lulls in that game. You are playing arguably the best team in the league, and you can't go through a 6 to 8 to 9 minute stretch where you're not defending and you're missing free throws and you're turning the ball over. So you really have to play, as Jerry said, you really have to be good for 48 minutes. I'm not going to be able to have G-Man, because G-Man, after he does the game, has to do the post-game show on radio, and he's at the arena. There's no way he could do it. So I will not be having G-Man here on the post-game. Did have him on my podcast, I don't know, a year ago or so, and had a fabulous, fabulous conversation with the great Gary Gerald. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Really appreciate everyone on the stream. And I do believe that the Celtics game is going to be a dandy. It is going to be a dandy. Absolutely. Somebody wants to know what would be a decent road record for the Kings before they return home. Well, they only have one game left, Marine. So, I mean, they're either going to be 1-2 or 2-1. All right. They're either going to be 2-1 or 1-2. So we'll see. And then they got Phoenix and Indiana waiting for them at home. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Really appreciate you joining me. Have a great day tomorrow. That's going to do it for today's post-game show. And again, I appreciate your support. Do me a favor, if you have not already, hit the subscribe button. It's easy to do. Hit your subscribe button. And also, if you like what you've seen this evening, like the show as well. Give me a thumbs up. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.